Most of the things that we get recognized for in life, success in life, in every endeavor, whether or not it's school, relationships, sport, creative works of any kind, are always proportional to the amount of focus that we can bring that activity. So let's take a step back and think about how we focus and how to get better at focus. Give someone a string of letters or a string of numbers, and beforehand you tell them, be on the lookout for the letters R and Z. Okay? You're just going to watch this string of numbers go by, and there will be a letter R in there, and there will be a letter Z in there, and try and spot them both. And what you find is when you present that string of numbers, and then they see the R, they register it consciously, and they tend to miss the Z. Now, of course, the numbers are going by pretty quickly, but they can spot the R. They could also spot the Z if you told them beforehand, just spot the Z. And the numbers are moving through at the same rate in both conditions. So what that means is that in every case, you are capable of seeing the R or the Z. It's when you try and see both that seeing the first one prevents you from seeing the second one. It's what we call an attentional blink. If you see something that you're looking for or you're very interested in something, you are definitely missing other information, in part because you're over-focusing on something. These circuits that underlie focus and our ability to attend and our ability to eliminate distraction, they aren't just failing to focus. That's just a semantic way of describing the outcome. They are over-focusing on certain things and thereby missing other things. And so our distractibility, or the distractibility of somebody with ADHD, could exist because they are over-focusing on certain elements and they are therefore missing other elements that they should be attending to. So what they really need is this property that we call open monitoring. You can use panoramic vision to access the state that we call open monitoring. When people do that, they are able to attend to and recognize multiple targets within this string of numbers. They can see the R and they can see the Z and they can see additional things. So this is something that can be trained up and people can practice whether or not they have ADHD or not. What it involves is learning how to dilate your gaze consciously. That's actually quite easy for most people. You can consciously go into open gaze and then you can contract your field of view as well. There are now published accounts in the literature of a simple practice done for about 15 minutes where subjects were asked to just sit quietly, eyes closed, and do what is sort of akin to meditation, but to not direct their mind into any particular state or place, but simply to think about their breathing and to focus on their so-called interoception, focus on how their body feels, if their mind drifted, to bring it back. Okay, so it's basically meditation for about 15 minutes. That might not seem like a significant or unusual practice or that it would have any impact at all, but remarkably, just doing that once for 17 minutes significantly reduced the number of attentional blinks that people would carry out. In other words, their focus got better in a near permanent way without any additional training. And there are now studies exploring whether or not this simple meditation-like practice of 15 to 20 minutes or so of sitting and just quietly resting and paying attention to one's breathing and internal state can also offset some of that age-related, what is called cognitive decline. Regardless of whether or not you're a child or you're an adult, whether or not you have ADHD or not, whether or not you're experiencing age-related cognitive decline or you would simply like to avoid age-related cognitive decline, a simple practice of taking 17 minutes, sitting and paying attention to your internal state, just interocepting, registering your breathing, registering the contact of your skin with whatever surface you're on, can forever rewire your brain to be able to attend better and possibly even offset some of that age-related attentional drift. Children with ADHD, adults with ADHD, or people with normal levels of focus that want to improve their ability to focus can do so through a training that involves learning how often to blink and when, and how to keep their visual focus on a given target. And it turns out this study has actually been done, entitled Improvement of Attention in Elementary School Students Through Fixation-Focused Training Activity. What they found was a short period of focusing on a visual target allowed these school children to greatly enhance their ability to focus on other types of information. And a significant component of the effect was due to the way that they were controlling the shutters on their eyes, their eyelids, and controlling their blinks. So what they did in this study is they had these kids focus their visual attention on some object that was relatively close, like their hand, for a minute or so, which actually takes some effort if you try and do that. They were allowed to blink. However, it's known from other work that if people can consciously override the desire to blink, at least to the point where they feel like they have to or else their eyes would dry out, that actually can increase attention even further. And they had conditions where they would look at a point further across the room and even further across the room. The brain does not do well with constant context switching, meaning it can do it, but it diminishes our capacity to do meaningful work of any other kind, whether or not you have ADHD or not. If you're an adolescent, limiting your smartphone use to 60 minutes per day or less, and if you're an adult, to 2 hours per day or less is going to be among the very best ways to maintain your ability to focus at whatever level you can now. And as I always say, most of the things that we get recognized for in life, success in life, in every endeavor, whether or not it's school, relationships, sport, creative works of any kind, are always proportional to the amount of focus that we can bring that activity.